I've got a bad head flu, so here is a Tom Falcon comic. His writing is perfect for someone suffering from pains in the head, because you never have to think about anything with a Tom Falcon comic. He just tells you what other writers would maybe let you think about. This is Thor 386, Thor versus Leir, the Celtic Lord of Lightning, Leir. That is how you say his name, I believe. It has Welsh origins, so it is Leir instead of Leir. This is by Tom Falcon and Frenz. We start things off with a bit of Shameless, reverting to how things used to be. Some washing away of cosmetic changes. Thor has his beard shaved off. And to that I boo immensely. Thor, I prefer him with a beard, I think. Well, his beard was introduced in the third act of Simon Waltonson's run. He grew a beard to cover his scars received from Cate Blanchett, and he had it famously on the 25th anniversary cover. He also flaunted his manly face mane in issues of Avengers, and that is how he appeared in the Excellent Men crossover Mutie Mascara. He had the beard in Secret Wild's Aye. And that and many of these things were introductory stories for me. He even was in a Fred Embeck strip talking about his new beard. And now it is gone. Tom Falcon does a lot of resetting in his Thor run, undoing most of the character evolutions and forward momentum that Simon Waltonson had provided. But besides the immediate removal of Thor's beard, a lot of it isn't quite as obvious. Tom Falcon will play with it enough before undoing it, so maybe you don't straight away notice that he's only toying with it before undoing it. Thor and his friends Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli, they are going for a lad's night out. They are going out in hunt of a monster that has been attacking the outskirts of Fairyland. A very simple plot, and it's great for a done-in-one issue like this, or for someone who's a bit ill. I've complained about the beard, but don't misunderstand. I'm not bashing the issue. We have some long-term plotting here. Baldric, who is king of Fairyland, a setup you should get as familiar with as Thor's beard. Baldric is being informed or reminded of Fairyland's current big problem. In Simon Waltonson's run, Rainbow Road was destroyed. Rainbow Road was shattered by suntan. I'm sure we've resolved that, we undo that, but I cannot remember when. Rainbow Road is what links Fairyland to Earth. Think of it as Earth is like an anchor. Rainbow Road is the chain link, and Fairyland is the boat. Without the chain link attaching the boat to the anchor, the boat is left to drift around. And that means Fairyland is also susceptible to attack or invasion. Baldric's little conference was spied on by an unnamed cat lady that I think some of you will fancy. Don't get too attached, because she is working for Seth, the death god, and he fittingly rewards his servant with the gift of death. This is obviously setting up our first major story arc for Tom Falcon's very long run on Thor, which is also his best arc. The War of the Pantheons, that is what the Epic Collections called it. Seth leads his death troops on a campaign to destroy the weakened fairylands. Tom Falcon took over writing Thor straight after Simon Waltonson with issue 383, a largely flashback issue focusing on Amanda the Enchanter, a terrific issue, highly recommended. And then after that he wrote 384, which is less terrific. But those two were fill-in issues. They were not intended to be part of a wider run. But on the back of them, and probably because he had also just become editor-in-chief, Tom Falcon took over writing Thor. This is his first proper issue on the title, and following what is generally considered to be the best Thor run ever, is a mighty task. I think the first year or so, the Seth stuff, I far prefer that to what Tom Falcon did with Thor afterwards. Seth felt like Tom Falcon was trying to recapture some of the grand and epic spark that had been evident throughout Simon Waltonson's run. It's not as good as Simon Waltonson, but it's a decent try. But then after issue 400, Tom Falcon gives up and gans back to the Silver Age pastiche style that he is better known for. Thor and his pals are on the hunt for this beast, and they encounter it and realise that it comes from another realm. This all links in with the Rainbow Road thing. Thor, he gans through a portal in pursuit of the monster, and now he finds himself in Avalon. The beast is from Avalon, and I've never quite gotten to grips with Avalon within the Marvel Universe proper. Avalon is mostly linked to Captain Britain and then also Darth Knight. It is a mystical dimension. It is a literal fairyland. There is an enmity between fairyland and Avalon. They naturally distrust Thor and suspect he is responsible for the monster's actions. And then we meet Leir. Avalon is home to the Celtic gods, which are a mix of Irish and Welsh deities of myth. Leir is practically the only Celtic god we get a good measure of at Marvel. This is his introduction, though he might have been named before. We see him for the first time here, and he will reappear in more of Tom Falcon's run. First, he is an ally who comes to Thor's aid during the war against Seth. And then much later, if I recall, there is an unrequited love thing with him and Steve. That period of Tom Falcon's Thor, after Seth but before 90s Thor, that's the period I'm not as confident on. Only read it once. Leir has his first anti-book entry in the 89 update, artwork by Frenz. He had another entry in the Master Edition, model sheet by Neil Pollard, and there is the back of it, the super statistics and whatnot. Thor and Leir actually have A misunderstanding fight. Quite a long one. But it's good stuff. You can't pick holes in this plotting and the idea of them eitherlessly fighting each other. But you are less inclined to pick fault when what you have is at least decent. As far as misunderstanding fights go, this is a quality one. But back in Fairyland, we have Aragorn. He heads into the porthole after Thor because he thinks Thor has been gone too long. Aragorn is one of the characters that maybe gets the best push of his comic history in this run. Whereas usually he is one of a group of three, he stands out as the main one in this run, with him present without his partners for almost the entire story. Aragorn tries to break up the fight, and then here is a splash page. And then we have a bit of a cop-out with the monster being defeated off-panel by Gimli and Legolas. I would assume mostly Legolas. And then Thor stops wearing his armour. Shit, I was going to talk about that. That was another thing from the Simon Waltonson run. Thor's armour. He also wore it again in Avengers issues. And Tom Falcon gets rid of it like he does the Bears. I am less attached to the armour. I'm more upset about the loss of the Bears. And I do want to say, whenever Thor wears the armour without a beard, like in this issue, it looks wrong. It doesn't look right. He does wear the armour again, though, in the next story to boot. Thor tries to return to Earth, but he can't get there from Fairyland anymore, because Fairyland isn't linked to Earth currently, and so Thor finds himself stranded in space. The next issue begins a trilogy of Thor fighting the Omega Titans. And I'm not the biggest fan of that one, but I tell ya, this cover right here, this will give Robert, my subscriber, the nostalgia virus up his memory bum. You'll see this and be like, that was one of the first issues of Thor I ever got. Or he won't see this at all because I've decided not to release this video. I think this one is a rather dependable single-issue story. I don't think the promise might grab easily, but when you sink into it, it makes its case. It's a strong issue. It's unfair to say that it's nowhere near Simon Waltonson's work. It stands on its own, and that is how it should be judged. It is an issue of Thor. It's not an issue of Simon Waltonson's Thor. I'm struggling to even put together sentences or thoughts. I'll give it 7 thumbs up.